107.5 FM, 580 AM. Appreciate all your phone calls, and certainly we want to continue to take those. Let's go to our great friend Rachel Bovard joining us from the Conservative Partnership. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Well, let's take a look at this. How are we looking here in the bottom of the ninth as we get ready for Nancy and the crew to take over the House? They seem very giddy. Is there anything that we can take advantage of having the House for, I guess, the end of the week?
Well, it's not an unreasonable expectation that would happen, but this is also Washington with congressional Republicans who seem far more interested in getting home for Christmas than doing anything substantive with the waning days of their majority. There's news just breaking right now that Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is simply going to extend funding until February 8th, and that is how they're going to get around this shutdown crisis. So to be clear, that just means that the Republicans have decided to let House Democrats make all of the funding decisions rather than fight it out through the end of the year.
Is it a sociological study or a psychological study to really take a look at the difference, Rachel, between the Republicans and the Democrats? The Democrats, I mean, you put them out in the cold and they'll stay there until they get their way. The Republicans, whether it's this crew or the other crews, just seem to acquiesce all the time.
Yeah, and I think the voters are very frustrated with that. I think you're seeing that specifically on the issue of border security because you get Republicans who run on this issue, and for 8 years they told us, give us the majorities, we will, repeal Obama's illegal executive amnesty, we'll get control of the border, and then they come to power for 2 years, and again, they had a majority in the House and the Senate and a president who will literally sign anything about border security, and they couldn't get the job done. So I do think that the voters are very frustrated with this. Not only on immigration, but on Obamacare, on pro-life, on all the issues that they were promised action on. It's been kind of a disappointment.
Well, it goes to show you that, it's the bait and switch, and that's why the president seemed to be so effective in the Republican primaries. People were tired of the same old, getting promised things and not getting those delivered. So let's talk a little bit about the culture shock when Nancy and Jerry Nadler and all these other folks come in and have at it with the president.
Yeah, I don't think the president's going to get much help from congressional Democrats. We saw that. It was made very clear in the Oval Office meeting last week that Democrats have no intention of ceding any ground to the president. So, I think a lot of the Republican hopes are going to sit with the Republicans in the Senate who have not shown any will to really fight on anything. I mean, you also have to consider that this is a Republican majority that's going to go home for Christmas without having taken any vote on the wall. Not even if they, even if they weren't going to win, they're avoiding the opportunity to even put Democrats on record on these issues. So I think there is going to be a little bit of a culture shock. President Trump is going to have to be, I think, much more firm with congressional Republicans if he wants to get anything done in these next 2 years.
Well, I think what a lot of us are concerned about, Rachel, is these investigations. Adam Schiff salivating as if he's the first one in line at the Golden Corral to go after the president, which really has nothing to do with the campaign, nothing to do with his governance, but it just seems like a vendetta.
No, I think that's absolutely right. And, it's going to be interesting, I think, for House Democrats. They're going to run the risk of overreaching, I think, on this a little bit if they just do investigations and impeachment and actually don't put forth a robust legislative agenda that does have the opportunity to backfire on them. So I think it's going to be interesting to watch that, the role they take on this, because their base, I think, is salivating for exactly what you suggest, which is impeachment, which is investigations. But again, if they can't put forward a plan to actually legislate, it could have a bad effect on them in the midterms in 2020.
Well, what about the Senate? What do you think about the Senate?
The Senate remains in Republican hands. They'll have 2 more additional votes, 53 Republican senators. However, we haven't seen much vim and vigor from the Senate majority under Mitch McConnell. You've seen them sort of shy away from, I think, any of these fights on Obamacare and immigration, on pro-life priorities. So it's not a good look, I think. I think they're going to have to compromise a lot more with House Democrats. They're, again, not using the waning days of their majority to fight for anything. And if that's the attitude we're going to get next year, then it's not looking good.
Well, is there any good news?
I think I do hope that President Trump, I think, will be a little bit more firm on Congress after he's been so let down by them these last 2 years under a majority. I hope he really walks in and sort of fires them up and says, look, I'm going to veto things. I'm going to really hold your feet to the fire in order to get this done. And I think we may see that President Trump in January.
It would be a challenge, though, considering he's going to be on the defense with the House. And it just does, here's the quandary most conservatives have. You have folks in the establishment because they have the money, they get elected, they promise the base they're going to do something, then they don't. And it's almost like voting for Democratic light, some people would say.
Yeah, and I think Republicans have not done a good job of shaking off that veneer. I mean, again, this is the same Republican majority that said, give us the House, give us the Senate, give us the White House, we'll repeal Obamacare, we'll enact border security, we'll fight on these issues. And we didn't see any of that. We saw half-hearted attempts and then complete sort of moving on. And so I think if Republicans are going to ignite their base and make voters feel good about electing them, they have to start doing what they promised. And that message has yet to break into the halls of Congress, where they think they can just pass these show votes and convince the voters that they're actually doing something. But the voters, as we know, are smarter than I think a lot of elected officials give them credit for.
Well, it's amazing when you think about this, that we're looking at kicking the can down the road, especially when we had that big showdown last week between Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and the president.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are stunned by how congressional Republicans have handled this. The talk in Washington from them this week has said, well, we don't know what the president will sign. Well, I think the president made it very clear what he will sign. In the Oval Office, he said, I want $5 billion for the wall. That's it, or I'm shutting the government down. So, it's Republicans have sort of messed around in Congress. President Trump's been asking for this for 2 straight years. I don't think anyone's surprised that he's frustrated. So, again, it seems that the plan is to kick the can down the road to give all of these decisions to House Democrats in January. And that, to be honest, I think a lot of conservatives view that as the worst possible outcome.
And yet they want to go home.
That's right. Jet fumes have a powerful impulse, a powerful hold over these members, as does Christmas. And again, that was a decision by Republican leadership to put this deadline right next to Christmas because they know they can twist arms a lot easier if it means members can't get home.
Got to be frustrating to people that actually go out and have to produce every day.
Yeah, I think a lot of rank and file voters are frustrated by this. Hey, I have to show up to work. I have to get my job done. I have to do what I said I was going to do. And if I don't, I get fired. But Republicans seem to have a lax attitude. They don't share that. They think they can sort of smoke and mirror their way through this and people won't notice. But unfortunately, I think people are noticing.
Rachel, anything else that we should be looking out for as we wind down the year?
I think pay attention these next couple of days. To Thursday and Friday are going to be hotbeds of activity in Washington. These big bills always get something jammed in them at the last minute. So if you're worried about that kind of thing, I'd say pay attention because this is deal-making time in Washington.
And if people want to get a hold of you, Rachel, what can they do?
You can look us up online at conservativepartnership.org, and I will be posting all of this commentary on my Twitter feed at Rachel Bovard.
Rachel, we appreciate your work. If we don't talk to you soon, have a Merry Christmas, and we appreciate you holding the folks in Washington accountable.
Thank you. A Merry Christmas as well.
All right, there we have it. Rachel Bovard saying it's not looking good for the Republicans. And by the way, this just in, President Trump has declared victory in Syria and is bringing 2,000 troops home. This just in, President Trump declaring victory in Syria and bringing home 2,000 deployed troops. That is huge news, which we'll talk about. 580-5436. 580-KIDO going to President Trump's Twitter, where he basically said, look, we have won. It is over, and we will move on, and the troops are coming home. More on that in a minute. First, a look back at the year that was, the Kevin Miller Show on KIDO Talk Radio. Well, blessed to be a part of your day. We made it through another year that was.
Well, good morning, Kevin. I'm looking forward to you having a safe and blessed and a joyous New Year.
Back with Ammon Bundy joining us. We appreciate you taking time to speak with us here this morning.
Absolutely, and thank you for all your work. Appreciate it.
Dr. Tommy Ahlquist with us. He's on the trail. We're here at KIDO Talk Radio.
Thanks again, Kevin, for having me on. It's always nice to be with you.
Harley Brown returns to run for governor. Harley, good morning.
I know you. You were on TV. Can I have my picture with you? No, punk. Pump my gas.
Thank you all for joining us for our 16th season, I believe, of Promote Our Schools, Secure Our Future here at Columbia High School.
We're getting reports that Art Bell has died.
Good night, sweet friend. Art Bell, rest in peace. Well, you need to join us this morning in Independence Indoor Shooting. We're having a great time.
I've really enjoyed traveling all over the state of Idaho this past year. We have a beautiful state, and there's so many wonderful people.
Brad Little is about ready to take the stage to be the Republican nominee for governor. Our Unity Breakfast here at Terry's Cafe. We hope to see you.
I've never seen you in a tie before. You look outstanding.
It is Miller's Mission once again, where we ask you to donate online anytime at boiseRM.org. Usually in the fall, I'm dressed up as a giant turkey, and
today it's a succulent orange.
Yes. EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt joining us here. We're honored to have you. Thank you.
It's great to be with you, Kevin. Great to be in Idaho.
Out to Joe Paris, Channel 7. Joe, good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. Yeah, still a really eerie scene here this morning off of State Street in Boise.
Joining us now, our great friend, Chief Bones. Wish it were under better circumstances.
Yeah, you know, there's always tough times throughout the weeks and days that go by, but there's those events that are the once in a decade or once in a lifetime, and definitely been one of those weekends for us here in Boise.
Best-selling filmmaker, best-selling author, Dinesh D'Souza. Dinesh, good morning.
Good morning. The great promise of America, a chance to be the architect of my own destiny.
Blessed to be a part of your day from Washington. Our great friend, Canyon County Sheriff Kieran Donahue, here with us.
Of all things in Washington, D.C., and I thought, where the hell's that plane? I'm heading back.
Live from Compass Public Charter School, another season of Promote Our Schools, Secure Our Future.
I appreciate what you're doing, having these conversations and talking about education. We need to do more of that.
Still mourning the death of the bandit, Burt Reynolds. They don't really make him like Burt Reynolds anymore, do they? Eric Trump, we're trying to get your dad here. I know he's very busy. Any thoughts on how we can bring him to Idaho?
Well, he loves the state, and I love the state. We'll be there. He'll be there. Believe me, he'll be there. Thanks, Kevin.
Our great friend Bill O'Reilly, thank you for joining us.
Kevin, my pleasure. Thanks for having me in.
Kevin Miller here at the Riverside, getting ready for a big victory party.
Idaho's next governor, Brad Little.
Kevin Miller here at the Nampa Walmart, joined by Jeff the Suit. Good to have you with us, sir.
Yeah, you too. And in that suit, you're even more dashing, so good times.
You remember the Charlie Brown Great Pumpkin rising from the greatest pumpkin patch? Well, we've got the Great Turkey rising from the best turkey patch. And he's the most succulent one I've ever known.
You love that word, succulent.
Succulent.
And that's where you come in, folks. Give a turkey, don't be a turkey.
And so today a chapter begins. A small and stately story of unity, diversity, and generosity, shared and written together. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
And there we have it, the year that was 2018. Kevin Miller with you here. Our time is 8:19. More of your phone calls next on KIDO Talk Radio. Let's go to the phones. Brian in Nampa. Good morning. You're on with Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Brian.
Hey, Kevin. Yeah, a couple of questions. Now, I called in earlier and said, even you and Ronald Reagan are a little liberal for me. So
You remember a long time ago before the election, I said Donald Trump, I was afraid of him because he was raised Democrat. Is anybody talking about the ATF and what they're doing right now with bump stock? Or as we should say, rate increasing devices on guns?
That story is broken, yes. We haven't talked about it here.
Okay. This is my problem with Trump. I believe he's still got a little bit of lefty in him. And that is one example of why he is not uniting gun owners. NRA is for it. GOA is against it. They're on YouTube and all over the airways right now saying, we're going to sue. So, and again, what's a rate increasing device? The compensator, an enhanced trigger so you can shoot a little faster. Buckshot in a shotgun because it shoots anywhere from 9 to 22 pellets every time you pull the trigger. Again, it's just a little concerning. It's the same thing that Reagan did. Conservatives think they've got somebody that's in there that's going to defend their rights, and they do just the opposite. And I'll make a note that when Obama was in, the ATF ruled that this was legal. A machine gun is a weapon that you pull the trigger once and it shoots a whole bunch of rounds, right? Bump stock, it kind of cheats, but I can do the same thing with a rubber band, or if you're trained real well, you can do it with your finger. Now, is it accurate? No. So I'm concerned. I'm confused. I feel like the whole country's moved left. And let me give you an example. He lost the House. Did I expect that? Yeah. I was surprised he retained the Senate because you got to understand some of the people that voted for Trump are Democrats that are upset with how far left the Democrats are going. But now the Republicans, I mean, in my world, when I grew up as a kid, Democrats are where Republicans are now. And I said that wrong. Anyway, you get what I'm trying to say. The Democrats have gone way far left, and the Republicans have fell into their seat. And another example of this that's concerning is Kavanaugh had an opportunity to help strike down abortion, and he voted with the lefties. So, and you know me, I defended Kavanaugh when they were going after him. But it seems like every time we get into some kind of power, we fall to the left. And I just kind of want your idea and everybody else's ideas on this.
Well, we'll throw it out to people, but I would agree with you. And we had somebody on yesterday talking about this. It was David Bozell, and said the reason why that Kavanaugh was picked is because Susan Collins was the swing vote. And she knew that he would not be as pro-life as the other two conservatives. And look, we barely got Kavanaugh through. You know, what concerns me, Brian, to your point is, you know, we get the Supreme Court. We got Goofy Roberts. Who knows what's going to go on with Kavanaugh? And it goes back to David Souter and the Bushes.
Yeah.
You remember David Souter, yeah.
Yeah, but it even goes back further than that. Republicans go clear back to Roosevelt. You know, way back, Teddy Roosevelt, he's a progressive Republican. Is he as bad as anything we have today? No, but for his time, he wanted bigger government, bigger things. Even my son came home today and said, Dad, I think the brainwashing's working, because he was the only one in his class that was defending capitalism and defending that we don't need the government to control health care, saying, do you guys like the post office? And he explained this to his teacher, and his teacher was even, like, looking at him weird. Like, really? Where are you getting this from? And he's like, that's what our country was set up for. And his kids, I mean, this kid is 17. He's about ready to graduate. He's sitting there going, dude, Dad, we've been brainwashed by your generation. And I'm like, well, I brainwashed you the other way. But what are we going to do? I don't know what to tell the American people. You're slowly going progressive and you're going left. Yeah, Democrats are worse. They're in a Ferrari screaming down the road going 160. But Republicans are in a Model 50, pinking the same direction. And we better wake up.
Thank you, Brian.
You bet.
He's right. He's right. More on that in a minute. 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Good morning, Dave. Thank you, Dave. KIDO Talk Radio weather from the Channel 7 First Alert Weather Center. Good morning, Larry. And I'm Kevin Miller. Phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. I do want to remind you that Independence Indoor Shooting in Meridian, Idaho is your place to go when you're looking for, the best in selection. If you're looking for that present for that guy or gal that has everything, how about Independence Indoor Shooting, whether it's a gun safe, whether it's ammunition, whether it's magazines, whether it's a membership. Do you know that Independence Indoor Shooting has a female-only team there? The Independent Women, they train together. They take classes together at the Independence Academy. It is a bonding experience. Check them out today, iishooting.com, or better yet, go check them out. 576 Guns. You can check them out like I did last week, but just taking a drive on Overland in Meridian, right behind the new Gem Prep Meridian. You'll see the big flagpole. You can't miss it. Jim, like I said, I get all flustered, which is a lot of times here, talking about Independence Indoor Shooting. They have such a great staff. They really love the Second Amendment. They love imparting guidance and knowledge. And better yet, it's indoor shooting. In a day like this, why not? Plus, they have the 100-yard, that's right, the 100-yard indoor range, which you can check out. You can fire a high-powered rifle. You don't have to worry about it. The biggest in the Northwest. And the place is clean, well-ventilated. You will love Independence Indoor Shooting in Meridian, Idaho. Their phone number 576 Guns. They're open. Independence is open from Monday through Saturday till 9. Independence Indoor Shooting. Please tell them Kevin Miller from KIDO Talk Radio sent you. Let's find out what's happening in your world. Good morning, Maggie. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Thank you all for joining us. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And how many of us grew up in the time when there were only 3 TV stations? And maybe had a UHF station. One of the best shows, I think, one of the groundbreaking shows of all time would have to be Laverne and Shirley, right? Well, recently, actually yesterday, Penny Marshall, Laverne, died at the age of 75. Not only was she known for being a great actress, but also an incredible director. For those of you that have never seen Laverne and Shirley, you don't know what you missed. But you can get to that on YouTube and I think DVDs. And Penny Marshall, also known as the director of Big, the Tom Hanks classic to this day. We will miss Laverne and Shirley and Penny Marshall, and we will, in fact, play some more clips and take your phone calls on this. Joining us now, Senator Jim Risch. Senator, good to have you with us.
Hi, how are you? I'm on a bit of a short string this morning. I apologize. We're trying to wrap up. The president is going to announce here briefly that we're pulling out of Syria. So the pot's boiling back here right now, and we need to get our hands into it.
Senator, you just let us know when you need to go. We totally understand, sir. Your reaction to what the president has will announce officially, but has announced on Twitter already, believe it or not.
I believe it. Well, this is no surprise. He's been considering this for some time. Look, when he got here, he was asking all the right questions, starting with, what are we doing there? And he didn't like the answers he was getting. And he carried on and did what he believed needed to be done there, which was the fight had changed from a fight against Assad, helping the dissidents, the rebels. It had changed from that to a fight against ISIS, and we've been incredibly successful with that. He's decided it's time to leave.
When we take a look at the attitude, and Senator, I know you're pressed for time, so we'll ask you two more, and we'll get you out on this. Can you describe the atmosphere in Washington, the old Congress, and getting ready for the new Congress? Is anything going to get done, sir?
Well, you know, this Congress has been incredibly productive and successful. And when we have time, we can run through all the things that have been done. Probably one of the most significant things, of course, is a remake of the judiciary. It's going to be generational, really. And but in any event, people are changing assignments. People are the mood is always like a spring when you're starting over again, and that's what the mood's like here.
Senator, would you like to wish everybody here in Idaho a Merry Christmas? I know you'll be doing that when you get home, but for people listening right now,
yeah, Merry Christmas, everyone. God bless you all, and when we do have Christmas and these holidays, Thanksgiving, I'm always thankful for Idaho, the people, the place we live in. I wish everyone could stand in my shoes for a few days, and you'd have a whole new appreciation of the fabulous place that we call home.
Well, Senator, safe travels, and we appreciate you making time for us this morning.
Yeah, nice to talk to you.
All right, there we have it. Senator Risch wishing everybody here on KIDO Talk Radio a Merry Christmas. A Merry Christmas indeed. And before we get to your phone calls, getting back to just remembering Penny Marshall. You remember, everybody remember Penny Marshall? Maybe this tune will bring back some memories. Of course, you take a look at that with Laverne and Shirley. I think that was the first show where you had two female leads. Of course, today we talk about the glass ceiling and women's this and men's that, but certainly a groundbreaking show that we will be always entertained by Penny Marshall, a diehard Lakers fan, by the way. Speaking of diehard, Tea Party Bob joins us now on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, sir.
Well, good morning, Mr. Miller, and how are you this fine Wednesday over the hump day?
You remember Laverne and Shirley?
I do, yes. Very well, in fact.
I mean, that was...
Too bad that we lost one of them. That was one of the great shows.
That was like Tuesday night, because it was Happy Days and then Laverne and Shirley back in the day.
Well, we have Happy Days now, don't we? Almost sometimes.
Well, you would be like the Fonz.
Not sure about that. I see we have Liberal Steve, our very own village idiot, continues to spew his diatribe of liberal nonsense. We need to send him on another vacation to Belize where we can take a break from his dumb comments. I would like to say a few words about healthcare since you and Dave brought it up this morning. We're being manipulated by the medical and insurance associations into thinking that Medicaid expansion is going to be good for Idahoans, will increase access to medical care for over 100,000 residents. They spent millions in false advertising to get this ballot measure passed. Does anyone realize that 69% of those who sign up for this Medicaid expansion are going to be single persons with no children? They realize the medical access does not mean medical care. And do they realize that the cost of this program will cost our state tens of millions of dollars and will probably mean no repeal of the grocery tax, which would be much more beneficial to those in the lower income brackets than paying for Medicaid expansion.
Now, before we jump into this, let's examine this. You're predicting right now that the grocery tax will not be repealed.
Yes, that's correct, especially with a $60 million deficit we have now.
Now, you've run budgets and stuff. How does that happen?
It happens because the politicians manipulate it in a way that it does happen. Is there any reason why we should be $60 million over budget? That's Governor Otter. That's him paying off everybody he owes. Medicaid, but is paying off the hospital.
Right, but Governor Otter is, he's on his way out. So
Thank goodness.
But you got the legislature that has to approve this. So, and you're a pretty fiscally responsible guy, but, when you get near your credit limit or you go over your credit limit, the credit card company calls you. So wouldn't they do that for the state government? Hey, we don't have 60, 65, $80 million. Cut the spending.
Well, no, what they'll do is try to raise the taxes, but you're still not going to get, think about this. If people were eating better, wouldn't they be healthier? But no, let's tax the groceries. This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. It's the most regressive tax that you have in this state next to the gas tax.
But you're speculating, though. Well, and look, the gas tax was passed in the middle of the night, the last day of the session.
Sure.
But, as we've talked about before, there are no repercussions for people that pull these shenanigans. The gas tax passed, nothing happened. You have a lot of conservatives that were targeted during the last primary in general, and they've gotten wiped out.
I lost you. Where did you go?
I'm right here. Hello?
Where did Mr. Miller go?
Hello? Man.
Hello?
Something is wrong with this phone here. Great. All right. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller in the morning. As you just heard from Senator Risch, they are counting down the days till they can go home in Washington.
A $1 billion slush fund is not what is right, what the American people want, and it couldn't get votes in either house to pass.
I think the president is dead right. We have to make sure that we secure our borders. To be a sovereign nation, you have to understand who's coming in and out of your country.
What is the latest proposal on the table today was another $1 billion in addition to the $1.6 billion that's in the bill now that would just be money that the president could spend as he wished.
I want to make sure the president gets the money he needs for the border security that keeps us safe. I believe we'll get there, whether it's the $5 billion figure today. This way, the president will find the money. I talked to him this weekend. He's committed to border security.
This is not about whether we need border security. We need border security. It's about not wasting a lot of taxpayer money on something most people think is ineffective. So I'm hoping we can bridge these differences. I'm hoping the president will agree it's a bad idea to shut down the government, but we will see in the next 24, 48 hours.
Your thoughts? Let's see if the phone works again. Tea Party Bob.
Boy, I don't know what's going on there. Did you pay your phone bill?
Don't bite the hand that feeds you.
Mine.
Don't bite the hand that feeds you.
I know what you mean. Where were we?
So back to your proof. You're speculating, though, that the grocery tax will not be repealed.
Oh, I don't see it happening. They don't have the money for it, and it's going to cost them another $40 million to get Medicaid expansion implemented. Now, if the legislature doesn't change what's going on, this is what's going to happen. We will not see a drop in the grocery tax. We won't see it go away. We're not going to solve our medical care problem until we go to a direct payer. And we get rid of the insurance companies covering everything from a pinprick to a diaper rash and allow physicians to offer their services in a free market. That's going to foster competition and bring down prices. And remember, 42% of all the healthcare costs are generated by paperwork for doctors, hospitals, and clinics.
Right. Now,
and
back to you, though. You're a journalist, right?
Yeah, I hope so sometimes. Well, the press club doesn't consider me a journalist.
Right. You have been rejected by the Idaho Press Club.
which is probably a good thing.
Yes, you've been rejected by the Idaho Press Club. Not
Thank
that
you,
you're
Betsy Russell.
not that you're bitter about that, but have you talked to anybody who's an elected official about the grocery tax, or is this Tea Party Bob just speculating here?
I've had several conversations, and the problem is, where are you going to come up with the money? Where are you going to come up with the money? That's the problem.
I don't know.
Nobody knows. Well, I mean,
maybe they could sell half of HP for $75 million.
Maybe they should just cancel the whole deal. Get all the money back. I wonder who got paid on that one. Who knows?
And that,
Kevin.
Yes, dear Prince.
We've got so many problems here that nobody wants to solve, and nobody wants to listen, and nobody wants to work.
Now wait a minute. We just had an election. We've got a whole new slate of elected officials in that said that they want to solve these problems.
We lost 3 of our most conservative legislators in this last election. And why did we lose them? Because we had people like IACI and the hospital associations and all of these cronies who have been sucking off the government for so many years.
Yeah, but you also had the libs that worked very hard too. So and you have a disorganized local organization.
Dysfunctional is the word.
Disorganized,
That's
dysfunctional.
The real problem.
All right.
We got a long way to go here, my friend. It's time for change, but until we have an informed electorate, we're not going to get any real change.
Well, I expect you to be happy tomorrow at the Christmas party.
I will. I'm going to be full of Christmas joy and cheer, and I'll be singing my heart out.
You'll be our little jolly little elf.
That's it, me. You watch my shoes. I'm going to wear those elf shoes when I come in.
Fair enough. That'll work well on the radio. Thank you, Tea Party Bob.
Take care, my friend. Goodbye.
All right. We have just somebody who sent us an email, Kevin at KIDOTalkRadio.com. Kevin, titled Transtecular Inmate. Kevin, regarding your question to many of the callers on the Edmo topic today of how they feel about Judge Windmill's decision forcing the state to pay for the surgery, nobody has responded with the answer. The answer is that Windmill's decision reflects the larger Idaho population larger Idaho problem of Idaho government, along with the massive influx of expats from other states, California predominantly, are slowly but very surely turning the state progressive. The recent high number of votes that Jordan received in the recent election shows that the state of Idaho, to the thrill of the throngs of the lefties moving here, and to the chagrin of the overwhelming majority of the natives and conservative expats who migrated here over the last 2 decades, is changing politically. In other words, the disease of liberal progressivism is here, and conservative Idaho is feeling its effects. The only question is can it be curbed? Well, that's a good point. And we have been the canary in the coal mine for quite some time when we're taking a look at the libs. Look at what happened at Ada County. Republican Ada County shot down 2 commissioners. Jim Tibbs, great guy. Shot down. Now we've got 2 progressive females in that, according to my sources, worked exceptionally hard. And now you're going to have to deal with this liberal insurgency here in Ada County. And is there anybody rallying the troops, just like the Edmo thing, the transgendered inmate? Is anybody rallying besides the Family Policy Alliance of Idaho, Kevin Miller, and the guy in Idaho Falls wanting a petition not to make it happen? We always say to become more active, but if you hire someone to do a job, I used to work for a guy. I always love this. I go, hey, how about, what do you think of this? He goes, if I need to instruct you how to do your job, then what do I need you for? That's really what it comes down to. If they can't do their job, is it time to find someone else? Pro-Life joins us now. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.
Yeah, Governor Otter and Governor-elect Little, they both need to say right now, listen, we're not going to have this we're not going to do this surgery. We're not going to pay for it. We're not going to allow it to happen. They could do that, and they need to speak up. If they're listening, they better call in here or however they're going to communicate with the public. They need to say that, because That stops it right there. And the people moving here are mostly not liberal. We meet people all the time from California, and they moved here because they're trying to get away from California. It's just that easy. And it's our people that are already here. We elected Brad Little. He's a very moderate Republican. He's not a conservative. And we elect all kinds of people to our state legislature that are the same kind of people. And they're not from California. And so it's our own people that are doing this to us. It's not people coming from somewhere else. So anyway.
That's pretty harsh.
It is harsh. I mean, you can't, Brad Little said on the radio that he didn't care about transgender surgeries if it didn't affect our tax money. Well, now it's going to affect our tax money, and we're going to affect our tax money to defend whatever we're going to do. And so he's probably just going to, let it slide and hope that there's not enough public outcry.
Well, if you let it slide, then you've got to pay for 30 more and 30 more and 30 more. And if it's $100,000 a pop.
Right. And then you got to pay for all of their psychiatric stuff to try to, so the psychiatrist who's already bent, he'll try to tell them that, hey, they're doing the right thing. And, those kind of guys, they need to be hung out to dry. We don't need those kind of people in Idaho. So, I don't know. We just have to get back to basic Christianity and basic common sense where people have a conscience. When you go to school, that's public school is one of the big problems. The guy that called in earlier, I can't remember his name, he's saying his child went to school and he was the only one in the class that got the right answer about the proper role of government. Well, that shouldn't be. There should be, if you have conservative Christian schools, well, then their children learn the right thing, and the teacher's teaching the right thing. But, you can't teach the public school's communist in a public school. Well, hey, there we go. We're just, we're promoting the advance of socialism, which is collective theft. And there's nothing.
Well, you have many young people thinking they love the socialism.
Yeah, they do, because they think they're getting something for nothing, but nobody gets anything for nothing. When you steal from somebody else, you're limiting your own liberty, your own ability to create a career for yourself, because the government's going to manage your career, and that never works. When you have to be licensed, and you have to jump through all the government hoops, and you have to get taxed. I mean, you can't even hardly start an occupation. So we're in big trouble. And
well, you're an optimist. Thank you, Pro-Life. God bless. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Thank you, Dave. KIDO Talk Radio weather from the Channel 7 First Alert Weather Center. Good morning, Larry. All right, Larry, that's quite an in-depth forecast. We appreciate it. Appreciate Austin in for Ray. We'll see him tomorrow. Christmas party tomorrow. Hope to see you there. Good day. God bless, and keep the faith.